Clark Lee is giving Vandy an advantage by being coy about the quarterback battle.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Well, fall camp has kicked off. Lots of stories, lots of things to talk about there. Dontae Carter is impressing early on. No surprise there. He's labeled as a playmaker. The offense is trying to find a rhythm, but the main thing is the quarterback battle. And Clark Lee being coy about it gives Vandy certainly an advantage. And here's why. Because I think deep down we all know who the starter is going to be. It's going to be Diego Pavia. Let's be honest. Quincy Skinner was quoted in saying Diego Pavia is a dog and baller. He used those two adjectives to describe Diego Pavia. So we know deep down it's probably going to be Diego Pavia. Okay, you can be coy as much as you want to. You can be secretive, deceptive, whatever you want to call it, as much as you want to. But we all know who it's going to end up with. Okay, but Clark Lee was quoted as saying it's anybody's ball, and to me, I think even though he knows, there's a lot of reasons why I think he has to say that, and I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a great thing that he is saying that because, first of all, from the outside looking in, it's anybody's ball, right? Vandy fans know that it's going to be Diego Pavia. But like the outside, I mean, nobody truly knows, or do we? Right? So it gives the impression that Diego Pavia is not a slam dunk. There's another guy that's pretty dang good, and that's Nate Johnson. And now Virginia Tech has to prepare for different things. So just doing that gives them an advantage in this first game where the momentum that you can get from a win can propel you to a bowl game, right? If bowl game is still the goal, which I think is very much in reach, you need every advantage you can get, right? So just this little bitty psychological advantage, just that little tiny shred of doubt. What if? What if? Okay, we all know it's Pavia, but what if, right? If I'm Coach Pry and Virginia Tech staff, defensive coordinator, I don't even know who the defense coordinator is over there. What if? What if it's not Diego Pavia? What if it's Nate Johnson? What if it's Blaze Berlowitz? I don't think any of the freshmen are going to actually be in competition, but I think it's going to be Nate Johnson and Diego Pavia. What if? Now we got to go study Nate Johnson at Utah and when he does well. And when he does well is different than when Pavia does well. What if? We have to prepare for both. So we have to exhaust reps in fall camp to determine and take those scenarios. What if? Okay. And we know that Nate Johnson's probably going to have a package of plays. So they're going to have to prepare for both anyway. And this also gives Nate Johnson. So on the outside, you're preparing for the what if, right? Now on the inside the locker room, I think deep down everybody kind of knows. Even Nate Johnson. Okay, I think you know, because this guy has a lot of charisma. This guy has a lot of swag, competitive spirit, whatever. He's a master of this offense. He played 2 years with Jerry Kill and Tim Beck. He knows the system. He's played in this system. He went down to Auburn and beat the stuffing out of Auburn, and it wasn't a fluke. He's a master of that system. So you have to know deep down inside that, like, it's a long shot. But what this does, again, it's a little bit of psychology here. What this does is it keeps Nate Johnson engaged. Well, it's anybody's ball. I know it's a long shot, but I'm still engaged, and I'm still going to do my thing. Because if you just say, Diego Pavi's our starter, psychologically, if I'm Nate Johnson, maybe I don't check in as much. But if I know I have a chance, even if it's a slim one, naming him the outright starter, Diego Pavia, would eliminate that chance. So if I have a shred of chance to either start or get some playing time, which you're going to start to see more of in college football too, with NIL and transfer portal being the way it is. If you want to retain quarterbacks, you may have to do stuff like this, like it's not a true 2 quarterback system where it's like, you get the first 2, you get the next 2. It's like okay, here's your set of plays. We're gonna roll you in here every once in a while situationally, and if you get hot, we'll stay with you, and if not, or if the other guy gets hot, we'll stay with them. And the playing time is kind of fleeting, but there is chance there for playing time. So for Nate Johnson, if he's still engaged in the competition, then he's going to give his all. He's going to develop so that if there's an injury or Pavia, his performance falls off a cliff or whatever the case may be, Johnson's ready. Or, hey, it's 3rd and 4. It's third quarter. You're down 3. You need a big first down. I'm ready to go. And they can call whatever play they want, right? Most of the playbook is open. If I have been engaged in this quarterback competition, it's going to help me develop. So for that, on the inside is also one of those little psychology tricks that Clark Lee is pulling. And it's not like super secret. Everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows the deal. You have to. It's there. It's kind of obvious. But any sort of doubt, any sort of like poor performance and good performance by Nate Johnson leaves that shred of doubt. Oh, maybe I do have a chance. Oh, maybe I can creep up here and make this thing a battle, right? Like if I'm going to give another example of another competition that's kind of playing out the same way, it's there's a competition in Pittsburgh for a quarterback one. Russell Wilson, presumed starter, but they haven't officially said, hey, you're the starter. They've told Russell, hey, you're going to be the starter, or, basically to get him there, right? You're going to be the starter. Well, Justin Fields comes in. Russell Wilson gets banged up, start of camp. Justin Fields is balling out. Now, hey, it's a competition, right? It's a competition because Justin Fields is developing. They don't want to stunt that development by saying, yeah, you're doing good, but we're going to maintain with Russell. No, he's engaged, right? And if he wants to take it over, they're going to keep him engaged so that they can truly see, hey, does Russell Wilson do great with somebody pushing him, and can Justin Fields rise to the occasion? I think both things can be true. And then you have 2 really good quarterbacks. Same thing here at Vandy. Can Pavia withstand the pressure that he's getting from Nate Johnson to withhold the job? And to be able to withhold the job, Pavia's got to raise his game as a result. He can't rest on his laurels because he's the starter and everybody knows it. And if you outright name him, maybe he has a little bit of complacency and that affects that position. And now you got a true controversy where, hey, you're getting outplayed by a more physically gifted player. What's going on here? Then you're starting to look at, well, we have to start Nate Johnson. And then the locker room takes notice of that. But if you leave it the way this is, the locker room sees the elevated quarterback play. Now they get fired up too. That's the other caveat to this psychology. I don't want to call it experiment, but this whole psychology thing with it's anybody's ball. We all know it's Diego Pavia. Let's be honest. We all know what it is. But that little tiny bit of not officially saying it's yours gives Nate Johnson hope, which will enhance his development and advance his development. It gives Diego Pavia just a little bit of doubt that it's not quite his. Now he's got to raise his game, or will he crumble? That's going to really get a true evaluation of what he's like. It's going to give these receivers a little bit of a boost, saying, okay, we got to help these guys out. We're going to raise our level of play so that they can get a true evaluation. We don't know who it's going to be, but we like this competition. And they just kind of join in on the fun. And then outwardly, Virginia Tech's like, wait a minute, we're preparing for Diego Pavia, but hold on, there's a competition here. And this is not a slam dunk. And so there's a bug crawling on me. This is not a slam dunk. So we got to prepare for both now. So that's a little bit of psychology trick. I think this is a good thing for Clark Lee. I think he is doing the right thing here and elevating the play of his quarterbacks by just simply saying it's anybody's ball. A simple phrase, a simple 2-word phrase. It's anybody's ball. Simple 3-word phrase, really. It's anybody's ball. There you go. So, but the offense overall, day one, typical day one stuff, looking to try to find a rhythm. We'll talk about the components of that offense and kind of how it all looked on day one and what to expect there next. All right, this episode is brought to you by Gametime. Did you know that Gametime is the authorized ticket marketplace in Major League Baseball? Well, now you do. And that's what makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on Gametime app actually go down closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. If you look at any games, any events, anything, you're going to see these. You're going to see these things, right? You're going to see last-minute deals. Which, hey, we're trying to sell tickets in section 134. We're going to give you 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever, right? Flash deals. Hey, we're featuring section 112 tonight. There's some, hey, get 20% off on section 112, right? So there's even more exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. All right, zone deals. This one is, hey, if you let us pick the seat, we'll give you a little bit of a discount. All-in pricing. I love this feature because there's no surprises. And you see the total up front, so there's no surprises. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, which is phenomenal. It's panoramic. You move your phone around, and it shows you all the different views that you're going to see. So Gametime has the lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Also, their ticket coverage is top-notch, and it's covered by the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry, actually, which is elite. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Hey, you watching ESPN or Fox Sports all day, you're tired of all the shouting. Well, here's what you need to do. You need to make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And speaking of every day, thanks for making us your first listen every day. Thank you. You guys are awesome. So we are we're plugging along right here. Fall camp has started. This is an exciting time because you know what? It's football time, right? Between the NFL starting training camp last week, college is starting this week. It's amazing. We are now not without football. There's officially football. Just listen to that in your head. There's officially football in the air. Man, it feels good, right? Feels good to be back. And this will be my first football season with all of you. So this will be a lot of fun. This will be great too. So in the spirit of the first day of fall camp, the offense, man, they struggled to find a rhythm a little bit. Okay. And I can see all the alarm bells ringing, like, oh man, offense is trying to find a rhythm. They were a little off today. The quarterbacks weren't sharp all of the time. They got better throughout the day, but they still weren't overly sharp. Oh man, it's panic city. Oh, we're gonna be the same old Vandy. Oh no, I can hear all of that. Okay, but it's just simply not true. I think there's some things that stand out that lead you to believe that, hey, even though it was rough day, might be a little too harsh, but even though it was a little bit of a rough day, off day, whatever, however you want to describe it, still nothing to panic about because it's the first day. New system, new quarterbacks, just a lot of new things. And even though they had spring, still day one install stuff. Like, you're still trying to find a rhythm. You're juiced up. There's just a lot of things. You got to find a rhythm. You got to do some. You just got to. It takes it a minute to click, right? Especially in the college level. So don't panic on that. Offense is trying to find the rhythm. Defense is always going to be ahead. So anytime you read about the defense kicking butt, that's usually the case. So I'm gonna give you another I got 5 on a camp day 1. This is an offensive edition because I need to pump you guys up because not everything is not bad. Just needs a little fine tuning, right? So Eli Stowers is in fact the real deal. Okay. And I love the coverage that we're getting on this because it helps me so much. I'm reacting to Billy Derrick's coverage of on vandysports.com of practice. And Eli Stowers, man, he's big, physical, he's athletic. I mean, everything that we know about him, he is indeed the real deal. So this is outstanding, man. And he's going to be an X factor. And if you go back to an episode from earlier this week, I believe it was Monday's episode, look at just kind of how Eli Stowers is going to factor in, especially in the pass game. There's, RPO options for him to get the ball in his hands. And there's, there's shot plays that also take advantage of leaking him out. So he's going to be a true X factor, and it's showing. Okay, it's absolutely showing for that. So the tight end position, I think overall had a pretty good day as well. Luke Coleman had a really good day as well. Just the tight end position, I think, is going to be just kind of like your safety net a little bit. So just be ready for that. I absolutely love that. So offensive line has improved markedly, especially Stephen Hubbard and Chase Mitchell. They've been impressive as well. They've already made a difference. I think what you're going to see with the offensive line, you're never going to get a consistent report on them for now. It'll be a minute because they're trying different combinations. They're trying different things up front to get their best 5 out there. I think the only one that I think will be kind of a staple as of right now. Now, hopefully Virginia Tech it'll change, but Stephen Lasoya will be the center. Then everybody else is just kind of mixing and matching. He's finding, Coach K is finding different combos there for the offensive line. So don't be surprised if there's some days where, hey, the first offensive line was not great. They weren't on the same page. Don't be surprised if you see that a little bit. That's a little bit by design. I think typically they try to be the toughest on the O-line. They try to throw a lot at them to see exactly who's going to do what, how they communicate, things like that. So they try to make it on purpose by design. They try to make it an absolute nightmare of an environment. So just don't be surprised there. But they've looked objectively better than in the spring. They've got some of the new guys that have come in have really made a difference. I think just a summer of conditioning, strength training, and things like that just more time working together. Communication's probably better. You've got more guys in there that, some of the transfers that weren't available in the spring, some of the high school guys that have also come in. So you've got more bodies there. They're less fatigued, and they're just a little bit more comfortable. So they've looked a lot better on that front as well. Quarterbacks and receivers are trying to find a rhythm, man. That's kind of the theme for the entire offense. It's just embodied through those two positions, but they're trying to find a rhythm, man. And it's not easy, right? It's not easy, but you're going to be, again, it's just, you've got Coach Kill barking at you, Coach Beck barking at you. You've got a lot of things happening. You've got a lot of new faces that you really just haven't gotten timed up with yet. I mean, there's just a lot out there for these guys to, they have to get used to, and they just got to find a rhythm because they've never played together. And when things get ratcheted up, timing gets off, which it's not an abnormal thing. It's okay. But right now they're just trying to find rhythm. And a couple of names that stood out, Luke Foungy and Darian Wiley. Like Luke Foungy, none of the receivers necessarily, none of them really stood out. I think they were all just kind of meh because it was just kind of one of those type days. But I think Wiley's going to be a stud. Dylan's going to be a stud. Quincy Skinner's going to be a dog. Like you're going to eventually see that as they get more on the same page there. But and the competitive spirit, man, it's high. Coach Kill is heavily involved. He's barking. The guys are pushing and shoving after reps. I mean, these guys are flat getting after it. The energy in practice is way higher than it was this time last year. Last year it was just kind of like, they were sluggish, they were flat. Nah, man, it's for real, man. The competitive spirit, the energy that Coach Steiner brought, he brings from the first whistle during stretch, and it continues all throughout the rest of the practice. It sets the tone for everything. And so I think you're going to see a team that practices with high competitive spirit usually ends up developing at a higher rate. So I'm excited about that. So, but you know who else I'm excited about? And I've talked about him all off season as being one of the top most impactful newcomers. That's freshman Dontae Carter. He's going to be an absolute stud. We'll talk more about him next. eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right. Thank you for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We are here every single day. And thank you for making us your first listen. Thank you if you enjoy what you see. And thank you to the everydayers. Shout out to you guys. You guys are special. But if you like what you're seeing, if you like what you're hearing over on the audio side, wherever you get your podcast, at Coach Burton 36, at Locked On Vandy on all social media platforms. So make sure you find us. Follow us, subscribe, all that good stuff, and spread the word, right? It's fall camp now, so everybody's paying attention. So anyway, we talked about a little bit about quarterbacks, offense finding rhythm. Well, now let's flip over to the defense side of the ball, all right? Because even though there's bad news, and I'm doing the air quotes for all you on the audio side there, but bad news, it's not all bad. But defensively, you're always going to be ahead. And Dontae Carter has made the most of his opportunities. He was an early enrollee, and I think he's made the most of it. And he's in line for some early playing time. And I don't think there's any hyperbole there. I mean, if you look at him, he looks like a veteran. Like, he has put on a significant amount of good weight. He's tall, rangy, fast, all that stuff. But he is touted as a playmaker, ball hawk. Wherever the ball is going to be, he's going to be. Those are some of the things that have been said about Dontae Carter. There's a buzz around him. Now, he's got CJ Taylor, DeRicky Wright, Brandon Fontenette kind of in that safety group there. So I don't know if a path to a starting role is there unless there's some injury, but he's somebody that will factor in, right? He's somebody that they're going to have to think about it. They're going to have to say, okay, he's everywhere. He's a disruptor. We can't leave him on the sideline too long. Those are the things that are being talked about right now in these coaches meetings. I guarantee you, after practice, when they're sitting and watching film, they're like, there's 21. Oh, there he is again. Does he know the offensive play? Did he read the script before he went in? Like, does he know what's going on? That's what it looks like when a defensive player is that much on point. It looks like they know the play. Like they're playing the play, like, how scout teamers will do. He's just there. That's where he's at in his development right now. And his instincts are incredible. And he's got the athleticism to kind of say, okay, well, I can react and get down to the play really quickly. I can deliver a shot. I can deflect a pass, whatever the case may be. He is doing those things, and those conversations are now being had inside the offices. I know Clark Lee and the defensive staff are sitting around the table going, looking up at the screen, leaning back in the chair. You know how they do. You know how that posture is, right? So they lean back in the chairs and they're like, all right, boys, we have to find a place for Dontae. There's something that needs to be done. He is a menace, an absolute menace and stud. Now, when the pads come on and as we roll through fall camp, you're going to start to see some freshman moments from him. It's inevitable. You're going to see it. That's why I think he's not quite a starter yet. They're going to keep pushing him a little bit. But this dude will play, and it will play a lot. He's going to be a true X factor on defense. That much I know is true. Because if those conversations are being had now, the coaching staff is A, finding ways to get him more involved, but B, finding more ways to push him so that, again, they keep him engaged enough to where now they can see just where his limits are and just kind of keep him within those parameters. And if he exceeds all of that, well, he might just actually start, which I don't know if that's going to happen game one, but by the end of the season, he could be a starter opposite of CJ Taylor. Definitely if there's injury, but maybe even without injury. So just the fact that he is showing off, again, it's making plays, and you can't make plays on defense, especially in the secondary, if you don't know what the coverage is, if you don't know what side adjustments are, if you don't know what's happening in front of you and how to react, you're not ever going to react the right way if you don't know what's going on. At the safety, like on the defensive line, you can get away with a little bit of that where you kind of like there's times where defensive linemen just kind of guess right. At safety, you don't guess right. You don't get. If you're guessing, you're screwed because you're out there on an island. You're out there by yourself. You're in space, and you can't guess. So your instincts have to be on point. And if you're making plays, your instincts are on point. If you're not making plays, your instincts are not on point. You need to develop further, which means you're probably not going to play a lot. It is what it is. But Dontae Carter is actually proving that that he knows what's going on. He is very much in the mix to be a heavy contributor, if not later on future starter in this defense and in this secondary. So that's a pretty good group of studs. He was a pretty deep room as well. So for him to kind of be climbing to the top of the pile is, well, it's impressive nonetheless. And so just that's a name to watch out for. Okay. And I've told you that he's going to be an impact freshman. He may be impacting a lot sooner and a lot more sooner as well. So not to be confused with Boomer Sooner. No, just kidding. But anyway, that's the Locked On Vandy podcast. That's where we're going to leave you there. Day one's in the books. It's a very successful venture. The guys are one step closer to getting better, one step closer to a bowl game. You can't get to the bowl game unless you get through day one, and then you can't get to a bowl game then after day one unless you get through day two, day three, day four, so on and so forth. So for the offense, find rhythm. For the QBs, keep pressing. For the defense, keep doing what you're doing. Get better every day, and you'll be just fine. So that's where I'm going to leave you here. The Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the everydayers for making this your first listen every day. And we'll see you back here tomorrow for more fall camp news. Anchor down and behave yourselves. Peace.